Thursday, September the 10th, 2015 at Vincent Corp in Tampa, Florida. We're going to be running a CP4, and I don't know if this is, yeah, I think you can see it now. The gearbox is a 64 ratio for about a 27 RPM screw speed. We think that's a little much for this, so it's hooked up to a VFD that is at 50 Hertz, just to slow it down a little bit. There's a look at our screw press, motor, gearbox, driving the screw. You can see the screw there between the gearbox mounting plate and that black plastic shaft seal. There's an inlet hopper there. And the screw pushes everything into the screen section. That's a wedge wire screen with about a 20 thousandth slot hole in it. And the solids are forced out past this bronze discharge cone, which has pressure applied to it by this cylinder and lever arm arrangement. We're starting with a very low pressure, only about 10 psi, just to see what happens and what we get, not knowing how the watermelon is, exactly going to react to being pressed. What we have here, this is all the green that we're not doing anything with. Not all of it. There's some there, and there's some there. We have red that's all by itself, and white with a little red here and there. Based on the email, you were saying you'd like, if we're only going to be able to get one test out of it, you'd like to do red and white together. So I think what we're going to do is for each piece of red that we put in, we're just going to take a piece of white. Now we're not going to obviously have them matched up, but we're thinking it'll all average out and work out okay. So I've got a little piece of red and a little piece of the white in baggies, so I can get individual moisture contents of those just for, out of curiosity's sake. So when we run, the liquid's going to come out through the screen, drop into the drain pan. There's a drain hole there, out into this pail that we have, and as I said before, the solids will come out past the cone. We'll capture those in this bin. What that'll allow us to do is a calculation of yield. So what's the total weight of these two things, and then how much of that is juice. And hopefully that'll be a useful number for you also. So we'll get the rest of the stuff set up and we'll get started. Okay, we're started now.
Notice I did it while the camera wasn't running.
Alright, see it going in. Immediately there's a little bit of juice starting to come out. That's good. It will be quite a while before something comes out past the cone. We'll judge how dry it is, how dry the solids are after a little bit, and then see if we want to adjust cone pressure. There will always be a little leakage past the cone until a plug of solids forms. That's what you're getting right now. That's temporary. Looking really good right now. See the cone starting to move just a little bit. I remember you saying that filtration is not an issue, or solids in the liquor is not an issue, or not a big concern. So depending on what we see here, we may up the back pressure just to try to get a little more yield. It's interesting, that's bigger chunks of watermelon than I thought I'd see, but I didn't catch any drops coming out.
They're coming out.
Okay.
Let's go up to...
we were at 10 psi, let's hit 20. This is a very tiny screw compared to the opening, and yet we're not having any feeding issues. One of the reasons is that usually if you try to fill it up to here, you know, somewhere close to the top, then you risk bridging over the little screw way down at the bottom. But so far it's not been overloaded, it seems to be doing fine. Now the increase in pressure, you see a little bit. A little bit more red coming through the screen. See, it's pushed by wheels so that it can rotate if it wants to. We got a little bit of channeling going on right now, and the only way to, there's two ways of reducing channeling. One is slowing the press down, the other is rotating the cone. Well, actually there's a third, and that's reducing back pressure. I may
channeling over here.
What happens, Fred, if you go to, say, 40 hertz instead of 50? Channeling is when it chooses one spot for everything to come out instead of evenly all the way around the cone. It's not a horrendous problem. We've done tests where one press is channeling and the other isn't, and the moisture content of the press cake is the same, but that's not always the case. Now with the slower screw speed, it seems like there's a little more even distribution. Something's coming around, coming out mostly around every place. We're going down to 30. So 30 hertz, my guess is that's about 13 RPM, maybe 13 and a half. And has this stabilized at 20 or did it drift? It is 20 right on the money. Let me cycle the cone and see if it settles back to 20. And it is, it's perfect. I gotta tell you, I'm wondering if something more like 15. Well, let's see. Yeah, we got stuff there. There's plenty in the hopper.
I'm going back to 40.
And I'm going slightly down in pressure. I gotta cycle the cone to see what it really is. Yeah, see, I dropped it down to nothing. Let's call that 15. That's looking a little more reasonable. Still some channeling going on, but every once in a while you get stuff falling from other parts of the cone, so I'm not too concerned about that now.
You think we have enough data that we want to switch to straight red?
Yeah, let me catch some press liquor and press cake. I'm gonna pause while I do that.
Yes, 36.
All right, we've got 36.6. Oh, did he? 36.2. Yep, we'll go with 36.2 with a 1.8 tare weight.
Huh? For the weight, Tyler stepped on the line and went up half a pound.
So 34.4 is what we've got for liquid. This was 11.8 pounds total, including the tub. and we'll have to get a new tare weight on this tub. We
Normally they're 3.6.
Okay.
These are the same ones that we normally be getting at 3.6 pounds.
Okay. So 11.8 minus the tare, which we'll get. We've got another tub like this. We'll measure it. Alrighty. That is after putting the rest of the watermelon in, the red only. This was almost a full pail. There's almost a half a pail again there. We're letting the press purge out, so some of that's not quite as pressed as what was there before it. But I already have samples pulled for oven testing. But what we're doing here is letting this come out, and then we'll go ahead and feed that back through. We may not get anything else to come out, but what I'm going to do, since that's already slippery and doesn't have a lot of free liquid in it, I'm going to go to a really slow screw speed, about 20 RPM, excuse me, 20 Hertz, and we'll see if we can coax a little more liquid out of this. Now we're going to have to go weigh it first to get our yields, but given that this press cake volume is such a small fraction of what went in initially, there should be no harm in running at a very slow screw speed to get it to go through. It won't take very long anyway. So we'll see what we get here when we go weigh this and then run it back through. All right, 65 pounds. We have 2 pails, so we're talking about 3.6 tare weight. So 65 minus 3.6. It was 65.0 exactly. All right, well, let's see. It's 65.4. It didn't settle. So 65.4 minus 3.6, that's what we got for.
Minus 3.6. 3.2 rather.
Oh, are these 1.6 or 1.8 pounds?
It was 1.6.
Sorry, yep, sorry, that's my mistake. So it's 1.6 per pail, so minus 3.2 for the tare weight.
62 altogether.
62 altogether. Yeah, I'll summarize all that stuff in an email. And, all right, so now... Pressed cake.
14.8 minus 3.6.
Yep, 14.8 with a tare of 3.6. Okay, so the only other thing left to do is run this back through the press and see if any more liquid comes out.
It's open.
That is open. Whoops. That is closed. Okay. Works better if the cone's closed usually. All right, so that press cake went back in. You can see, well, you can't see. There you can see the screw speed is very low right now. 20 Hertz.
You're getting stuff out already.
We got to make sure this doesn't bridge. It looks like it might have a tendency to do that, but
We're already getting liquids out.
looks like a little bit. Let me see. Yeah, I don't like the looks of that. I think it may have
Get a
bridged.
stick here, Tyler.
It's the first stuff that has bridged, but the CP4 is the worst machine for bridging because we have an 8-inch by 8-inch top opening here, but look at that angle right there, that severe angle that's required in order to get down to the only 4-inch diameter screw. That's where the bridging problems come in.
Back here we got juice squirting.
Yep, there's a little juice squirting out right there. That's why I won't stand right next to it. But bottom line is, a second pressing may be worthwhile. I've reduced it to 15 PSI because we only have one shot at this here and I wanted to do something semi-conservative. Look at that though. I mean, that's not an insignificant amount. Now the truth is, you might be able to get yield similar to double pressing by running the press extremely slowly the first time. But there's really more to it than that. It's that this is all broken up by the press, more surface area. So I don't know if there'll be a measurable difference in press cake moisture, but I'll take a sample anyway. How's it doing in there?
Really good.
Excellent.
Wasn't really bridging, it was just didn't look like it was falling, but the screw's moving so slow, but once it got an open point,
It took it away. All right. All right, I think I'm going to hold a baggie under here and that'll be my double pressing. It's not a dramatic amount of liquid coming out. You may decide it isn't worth your time, but I figured it was no harm in giving it a try here. All right, so what's left is to put the samples in the oven. Those won't be ready until tomorrow, and I'll try to upload video for you to see, and that'll take a little while, but hopefully be done by this afternoon. So it's looking good.